Murray King.
3, 2, 1. Hello. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Tony. How are you?
I'm very well. Low voice. Hi, folks. No one's on at the moment. We'll have 30,000 people at some point.
Oh.
1 million on the repeat. Ladies and gentlemen, or usually one lady and lots of gentlemen, according to my stats. We have Matt Murphy in the studio here. How are you, Matt?
Very well, thank you. Tony, how are you?
I'm good.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Now, folks may not know this, but we went to school together many years ago. But I'm not here to talk about that. We're here to talk music, a little bit of music. So Matt's been living in Melbourne for off and on for many years.
Off and on for 20 years? Or over?
Over a period of 20, maybe longer.
Oh, 20 years over, longer.
Yeah.
In 1990.
1990 you came down here.
I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you were down here 10 years.
I was down here for the 90s.
The 90s. Back to
Then
Brisbane.
For the noughties.
And then back for the teenies.
I'm not sure what they call them.
I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, Melbourne in the 90s was freaking awesome. Music.
No skyscrapers then.
No, times were a little bit different. But the music
amazing.
scene was alive and kicking in your jazz kind of thing, which I was into at that time.
I remember just jumping a little bit ahead into the mid-90s, but I came to visit you, I reckon 96, maybe 96. This was when you could live in a share house on Rathdown Street in Carlton. Now it's probably a $10 million house or something, but you were living with a band, 2 guys in a band. They were a pretty well-known band, Melbourne mid-90s. I can't remember the name. You weren't in their band. Oh, the name escapes me. Guy, short, dark hair, and there was another guy, sort of reddish hair. They were pretty popular. I can't remember. It's gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I lived with a sax player who was friends with Augie March. But
wasn't Augie March?
They didn't live in the house, but friends of, yeah. I remember very little.
It'll come back to me.
I remember very little.
If you remember the 90s, you weren't actually there.
As a friend said to me, I just ran into someone, you guys used to play in a, such and such. Like, no, I don't remember the name. It's like, really, you guys played in a band together for years? It's like, didn't remember the name of the band or ever being in it or the person. I was like, what have I done? All that marijuana worked. Hooray. It wasn't wasted.
Say no to drugs, kids. Well, it depends on the drugs, but
if you've got a shonky memory,
yes,
for starters,
chances are. Well, I certainly have a few memory lapses now and again. From I was in Brisbane in the 90s with beard and long hair and doing silly things and whatever. So I can barely remember it. But Matt, when I first saw you involved in music, it was on, get ready for this, guitar, Sherwood
Football Club.
Sherwood Football Club.
The Slobs.
The Slobs. A live show. Stiffy and the Slobs, I think, or something like that. I reckon you were on guitar.
Yeah.
87? Late 80s?
Sounds about...
The era? Something like that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 88 I was in Sydney,
Okay.
87
would
or
have been
89.
87, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
So why the move? Stiffy Hardcore and the Slobs. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can dig anything out, classic Brisbane band.
Who was the Bluebirds of Happiness were on the bill. And
wow, you do have a memory. You have a memory
Firebirds,
of the 80s.
yeah. With Kim Barton. One of the all-girl bands.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. How did you go from guitar to keyboard? Why did you make the move? I thought you were getting pretty rocky, pretty good. That's music speak.
Yeah, that gig that might have been my highlight. Got some comments after that one.
That was a pinnacle.
Bit of shreddy. I learnt piano at school, so from grade 1 to grade 10 or 11. Once I was allowed to give up, I did.
Were you doing it at...
Just classical, and it wasn't very good. Got up to like grade 5,
Were you doing it in high school?
I think I stopped in
Yeah.
high school and started playing guitar because, guitar was cool.
Thing. Guitar was cool.
And I wanted to
especially in our high
meet
school.
a girl eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least talk to one or something.
You'll never talk to one on keyboard.
No. And saxophone.
Yes.
Yeah, and then sort of around high school started playing. I mean, first band, which did one gig with, was a band with Ian Hogue.
Yes, Mr. Hogue. He went on to... He really didn't do anything much, did he?
It's all downhill from there. From the Hunts. No, what was the band called? Not the Huntsman. That was a band he was in with Dalton.
Really? Right. Wow.
Anywho's. But yeah, started doing jamming with yourself and wanted to get into music and just... I didn't know any theory on guitar and at least on a piano I could work out chords because I knew a bit of theory and stuff. So I ended up going back because, all that...
It's laid out a bit better, I think.
Yeah, I could never get my head around how a guitar's laid out, and probably never will. Whereas with piano, when I wanted to get so-called serious, even at the beginning of that, to be able to play in a band was the piano kind of made more sense, probably from the childhood thing. So
definitely,
I can kind of see the layout easier and shapes and.
It makes more sense to me, and I play guitar, but I just look at the white keys. The key of C. I understand that.
Well, the fact that anyone can, play keyboards basically, any producers or dance music always in C for a reason. But yes, I mean it's not.
They normally have no rhythm. They'll just. It's just some sustaining chord over the top.
Yeah, but everyone can play, a bit of keyboards or enough to.
So what did you do to get yourself up to a better level? Did you go and study? I'm trying to remember.
Just before I left Brisbane to move down here.
Yeah.
Got a few lessons from the guy from the Queensland Con.
Right.
Verve Middleton, I think his name is.
Verve Middleton. Wow. Yeah. No relation to...
Great jazz name.
Right.
Verve Middleton. No relation, I think, to Darren Middleton.
Yeah.
And that sort of set me on the path, and then started uni down here, started reading textbooks on jazz theory, which of course is a relatively pointless exercise, and eventually got into one of the little jazz combos at La Trobe Uni when they still had the music course, and then ultimately got into the VCA a couple of years after that.
That's great.
And that's,
went from there.
So, but I mean, just for playing rock stuff, just having a bit of, theory of knowing chords were made up of, major chords, 1, 3, 5 of your scale tones, and sort of went from, had enough of that to be able to work out how to play a Bowie song or whatever. So.
That's cool. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I used to get some lessons from Barry Morton, who ran the guitar section at the jazz course in Brisbane, and he lived out at Mount Gravatt, and it was in the days where you could own weaponry, and so he would sit on a chair just like this, and behind him was a glass cabinet full of rifles, and he would say, "Now, play me a whole step diminished scale," and I'd say, "Yeah, if you don't play that, I will get this gun and shoot you." So, of course, you would play it, but now. You came down to Melbourne, you got into some bands.
I did.
And
so I was thinking Ted Nugent from the Guns and Guitars.
He loves guns and he loves guitars. Ted's gone pretty... What was that old 60s band? Was it Amboy Dukes? Amboy Dukes, I
think. Right. Was that Journey to the Centre of My Mind? Was that Amboy Dukes?
I think that is correct. I'm pretty sure. I can look that up, but
I think
that sounds right.
I think it's one. Wicked song.
He's a great guitar
player. One of the best 60 psych songs. Yeah.
He's a killer guitar player. He's a messed up guy, in my opinion, but he's a great guitar player. There's no questioning. His most famous song, not Catch Scratch, but the other one is actually sung by someone else. Not many people know that, but it's true.
Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent. It's in A. It's like this power riff in A. I can't remember the name of the song, but so how did you go from moving to Melbourne? You moved away from Brisbane, and you're playing in bands in Melbourne, and then all of a sudden, the next time I see you, you're doing some work with the fellow that kind of went nowhere, Ian Hogue, and this little band called Powderfinger.
Yes.
And you're doing some keyboard stuff with those guys.
Yeah.
How did that work out?
I came to Melbourne to kind of get into jazz, because that's right, because of you.
Oh,
come
really?
to think of it, yeah.
Oh, the jazz. I'm going to turn to face you more.
You were
there we go. How's your coffee?
So this is like a year after high school or something, and we we'd run into each other every now and then. But you were I remember you were getting jazz lessons.
I was getting jazz
and
lessons.
I thought, wow, that's
the man with the guns.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, that's cool. And so I looked up and I tuned into a jazz show on the radio and had a listen and went, oh yeah, because to find out what this jazz was. And got a few lessons myself and came down here. So ended up going to the VCA down here doing the jazz thing, which is, I don't know, I'm not destined to be a great jazz player. That's you're in that world or you're not. I think.
I think I figured that out for myself early.
Playing other bands with friends, with John from Bar Open and
is
crazy
he
bands.
Still,
the same.
Wasn't he in charge of Music Victoria or something?
He's involved with a lot of the stuff with noise problems that venues are dealing with, and he. So there was when the Tote got shut down, that was the head of it. He's involved, sort of on the politics side. He gets some. He sort of learnt, it's like when Lisa Simpson learns Hebrew to help Bart win whatever the thing is. Yeah, so he learnt law just so he can, fight the government. So he's part of that whole
scene
of changing legislation and protecting the rights of venues. And so
and you were playing.
So we've played music together for a few years.
Some sort of psychedelic.
Slocum's Pussy. Yeah.
Slocum's Pussy.
Still quite great. So John Edwards, who's another Johnny Bong, was living down
drummer?
here. Yeah.
Drummer, yeah.
So he had that house on Rathdown Street, and every touring band from Brisbane would pass through. So he had a studio down in Collingwood with Mick Wade. So one night it's like, hey, we're having a jam, come down. And so I think Regurgitator was in town, and enough Powderfinger in town. I didn't know any of these people.
I think Quan.
Quan
lives here now. I saw him at Flemington Farmers Market the other day. I don't know him.
Yeah, I haven't seen him. He used to live in the Gap. Behind my
parents.
Really?
Right. Oh, yes, he did. Yeah.
And ended up having a late night party jam with Johnny Bong, and I think Ben Eli was there, and Hoggy was there. I can't remember who else. And
sort of went from there.
Yeah, had fun, and then Hoggy from that I think rang me up a few months later and said, "Hey,
come
got
and
this
do
project.
some stuff.
Do you want to come and play some keys?"
So did you? So was it Odyssey?
But from high school, because we knew each other.
Yeah, that's right.
From high school.
It's an interesting, interesting connection from high school and also the suburb that we grew up in. Because you're from the Gap, of course I'm from the Gap, and Brad Shepherd, Voodoo Gurus from the Gap, Tyrone and Katie Noonan from the Gap.
It's turned into the rockstar suburb.
It's weird. I don't know what it is.
Grant McLennan was living in the Gap.
Really? Ah, there you go.
Before he passed away. Yeah. I think Robert Foster is in the Gap. I think the guys from the Taint Brothers, and just whenever I speak to people, it's like, oh yeah, they live in the Gap. Like, what is this? It's turned into this.
You are.
But it's still, because I go up there, my sisters and parents all live in different houses. Yeah. If you go to the back parts of the Gap, like down off, Peyton Road or etc., and there's just like it was just old school suburban. It's just like, this is the weirdest.
I remember when
nothing's changed from the 60s back in those bits.
No, well, I lived on Glenbrae Street, which is just around the corner. That's the first place we lived when I came back from Canada, I think, or came over from Canada, but it's very close to Peyton Road. So I remember when all that stuff was being built, so in the 70s. So there you go. So what albums did you play on with the Powderfinger? Was it Odyssey number 5?
Yeah.
That was a big one.
So they say, yeah. If you was looking at something on classic Aussie albums and that was in there, I thought, it's just going to play on one then. It was all downhill after that. I didn't listen to any of it, but
So good on the resume, that one. Did you play on every track or a selection of tracks? Did you help with any writing or anything, or was it just like, Matt, come up?
Not officially.
Right.
No, just because I was doing a bit of stuff with them around that time. So yeah, all the tracks which have got keyboards on them, I played on, I guess, most of the tracks. I can't remember.
That's great. What keyboard were you using?
Oh, let me see. So I came down. I would have borrowed a. There's a nice B3 and Leslie in the studio. It was out at what was called Sing Sing in those days.
Sing Sing, famous.
A Whirly, Wurlitzer electric piano.
You were into the Leslie stuff there for a while.
The Leslie, if you're going to play a Hammond kind of, or Hammond emulator, you need a Leslie.
Yes.
With the spinning horns.
Yeah,
you don't know what a Leslie is.
Speaker.
Throws the sound around. There's nothing like it.
That's a great sound. I love that.
There's a Japanese pedal called a Resli tone, which I think might actually have something spinning like one of those, like an old Morley kind of thing with a actual spinning drum on it. One of the
there's a few pedals that try and recreate the sound, but it's an approximation of it. It's not
Yeah, because it's various things, but it does it literally throws the sound around the room. So to emulate that in a pedal.
That's cool.
Yeah, because the bottom rotor spins one way, top rotor spin the other way.
Do you still have any of that gear?
Yeah.
But do you still have any?
I've got an old Leslie, but it's falling to pieces. It's every time you move it, there's just bits of wood and sawdust on the floor.
What's your keyboard of choice at the moment?
Because I can't be bothered lugging gear anymore. I've got it down to what you can jump in an Uber with.
Yep.
So a Nord Electro 4.
Oh yeah.
But there's a 5 out now, I think. So Nord, the Electro, which does the electromechanical. So your keyboards with moving bits, your Hammonds, your Wurlitzer or Rhodes electric pianos, that kind of thing, and a clavinet. Sounds. I'm not a big Nord fan.
Okay.
Not really a big new anything fan,
just
but I'm
comfortable to lug.
Fits in the boot of a car.
That is the one of the big requests with people that come in here. It's like I just need something light, small amp.
But I mean, any live gig you look at, pretty much there'll be someone sitting behind a red keyboard, like a Nord.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're a bit. I think the sound overall is a bit too creamy for my liking. It's not quite good enough Gazzardo. But for what they do, it's all handy. They've got basic effects. So I mean, I used to lug around a million pedals, and I think it just gets the more now of your, if you know what you want, what sound you want in your head, you're most of the way there. As opposed to not knowing what you want, but having a lot of gear. It's okay, this sound needs, I need a bit more bite here, or I want a bit of sludge there, or whatever. Then
I use
a Nord with weighted, and it's got weighted piano action. So
that's the thing. Yeah. I'm not a piano expert, but when we look at getting, so I'm thinking of getting Phoebe a keyboard, but they always say get the weighted keys, so it feels like a proper.
Well, I started on piano, so to me that's what
makes sense. Feels
is
right.
A real kind of thing, and to do because I do sort of classical. Practice, like exercises. Hanon, the classic exercise. Yep. So to me, that you have to do that on a
proper keyboard feel.
But there are people who just have just play keyboards, and that's a different thing. But for me, I started on piano. So
were you a clavinet fan? You like that sort of stuff? Or?
I'm selling my clavs and my whirlies.
Okay. Clearing house.
Clav's awesome.
Yep, I love the sound. Michael Southgate is on. Great to see you, Murph.
Hello, Mike.
You too, Colonel. Hello, sir.
I was going to mention he's a friend of mine who is aware of this.
Of the shop?
Yes.
Very good. He popped in, was it last weekend or the weekend before? I'm not sure if I'd met him before, but a lovely gentleman.
He is.
He mentioned something about a band when I said you were coming in. He said, is that the same Matt Murphy from Murph and the Junction Kings? And I said, I don't know. He's been in so many bands. So it is. Tell me about Murph and the Junction Kings.
Michael was the original guitarist.
Oh, right. Great.
But he moved to Geelong.
Okay.
fortunately. So yeah, it's just sort of a fun thing with friends. Chef I used to work with,
Yeah.
Michael and another Michael on drums. Yeah, start off doing like Meters covers and Booker T and the MGs and that kind of Stax record.
That's all you need. I love that stuff. Yeah. I love the first Meters record, even the second one. What's the one? I can't remember. It's like Ya.
Was it Uka Pee, Uka Pi Pi, whatever?
I think that could be it. Yeah, I'm trying to. I can picture it, but I can't remember the title of it. But I mean, that's a great record as well. But yeah, Booker T is fantastic. So, and he mentioned something about a cape, playing keyboard with your nose.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Well,
tell me about the cape.
Well, the idea is if you've got more than 2 keyboards, you have to have a cape. So usually I only use one, but I think it's a good rule for keyboards.
Wasn't it a male nurse's outfit though? That's what it used to be. So
well, the dream's always been Scrubs.
Scrubs, yeah.
But it's the classic keyboard player look,
right?
I think if
who was
Night Ranger, Spinal Tap, and hundreds of more, like the crazy surgeon on the keys.
Surgeon with a cape. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a reversible cape. I have to
dig it out.
Yeah.
There's someone, another person jumped on and said, "Oh, Michael's in Bendigo apparently, not Geelong."
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Bendigo, Geelong, and
Bendigo's
Michael.
good. We love Bendigo. Okay, what happened to the Junction Kings? As soon as Michael left?
Yeah, we've got another friend, Richie Brain. Who, I started off my very first playing in a little jazz ensemble at Latrobe Unis was with Richie.
Wow.
Yeah, so I used to play up at the St Kilda Junction Hotel. But it's been all a bit busy lately
That's
to
cool,
do.
man.
Yeah, so it's more of a, it started out of a friends jamming kind of.
Yeah. Doing
tunes we wanted of,
classics. I love Sissy Strut as well. It's one of my favourites. So you went from the Powder Finger, and then I remember seeing you up in Brisbane. You played at the Livid Festival, I think, was it Far Out Corporation? Is that what they were called? What was the name of that band?
Far Out Corporation.
That
was the initial thing. That's when Hoggy rang me up and said, got this gig in Brisbane, do you want to come up and do it?
Was that before Powderfinger?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Initially. I said, well, actually, I'm going to be up there anyway.
Yeah.
So that was a band, because he was drinking, or good buddies with Grant McLennan from the Clover Twins.
Yes.
So it was Grant, Hoggy, Adele Pickvance, who was playing with Dave Graney at that point.
Yeah.
And Ross McLennan.
Now, this is drummer Ross
McLennan.
Right.
Of the
many
Ross McLennans.
I know the composer Ross McLennan. I used to do some gigs with him. He was in a band called Hieronymus Bosch. That's it. And the old Ego band, and we were both on the same manager. So let's do a bit together. But so
he
how long did
that, and then out of that, some Powderfinger stuff came up. They had an acoustic gig at the Opera House.
Okay.
For, I can't remember what it was, some anniversary of the Opera House kind of thing.
And so you got to play it there?
Yeah, and then Darren Middleton was also doing a band called Drag, which is his solo stuff. And that was happening at the same time.
Okay.
So I think I just thought, well, I'll just hang out in Brisbane.
Yeah.
After being here for 10 years and stuff I was doing here, it all kind of quietened off, so I went up and did that.
So you moved back.
Yeah.
And so you were doing those bands with Darren. So he is down here now?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still doing anything with him?
We've did a gig with him up in Brisbane at the what's it called? The Triffid?
Yeah, that's John Collins' place. I've never been to it, but I hear it's great.
Darren does, great venue down in the valley. And Darren does a gig every year now. It's sort of a thing, a Christmas gig, whatever, and gets friends up. And so I did that, was it a year? Maybe it was a year ago.
Okay, cool. I think I might have seen a picture.
And that was nice. And JC got up on stage and...
Oh, great.
Hoggy, but got a gig coming up in September, I think, with It's the 20-year anniversary of the Far Out Corporation album, which I thought
wow,
seems
can't
like
believe that.
just yesterday.
Yes, it does. That's what happens.
Yeah, and obviously Grant passed away a few years back. But
who's going to jump in his spot?
Bernard Fanning, I think his name is.
And so a nobody.
Yeah.
No, Bernard. Wow,
BF's
that's a big one.
Gonna sing a bit.
Where is that?
And Hoggies plays with the church now.
Yes.
So Steve Kilby's going to sing a bit.
Lovely.
And a few other people I can't remember the names of.
At the Triffid?
Or I'm not sure. It's part of the Brisbane Festival, I think, in September.
Okay.
So yeah, and maybe a couple of sideshow, maybe a Sydney, Melbourne show if we can. But definitely the Brisbane one, yeah.
Do you get nervous before you play, Matt? Or are you a person that just has nerves of steel? Are you one of these people?
No, I think I've always been a bit, except maybe back in the days of the slobs. I don't know if I was nervous. I was too young to be nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Just about,
okay.
Just don't want to, stuff up.
Yeah. No.
And I usually haven't learnt my, why didn't I spend more time learning these songs? Which is, how does this one go again?
Like a Robin Ford type. Have you ever heard that story of Robin Ford joining the Miles Davis group? Where he gets a phone call and he's like, Robin, it's Miles, can you come to New York? And so he turns up in New York. It's basically a gig. It's like he meets the band in the hotel. That's like, well, we got to go on. So he's had no rehearsal. Just, and pulls out a solo. And Miles Davis comes over to him and says, where'd you get those shoes, Robin? So that's all he said. So he wasn't sure if it was good or bad, but anyway, he ended up getting the gig and getting a new pair of shoes from Miles, which is good. So you're going to head back to Brisbane shortly.
In a couple of weeks, yeah.
Okay, just for not sure if it's permanent or there's a few other things coming up for you.
Well, the plan is to go and play
a few shows.
Crazy Keyboards in Japan for a while. So I just need to... but I think I'll be in Brisbane until, say, this gig.
Yep.
Hopefully. I've got a bit of stuff to do before then, because my family's from there.
Yep.
Bit of stuff to do, and then that'll all be done, hopefully, by the time then do this gig.
Yeah.
And which will be a nice little way to, nice
head
little thing to do before I head off to Japan. So obviously I need to, hopefully I'll have a job lined up in Japan and I'll have, everything will fall into place. But that would be...
that's cool. Osaka? Or going to Osaka?
Yeah. Osaka's
it's great.
It's the place.
Don Tonburi, lovely for food. Get to Kyoto. I like Kyoto.
It's very picturesque.
It is.
But
we stayed in Gion while we were there. It's very nice, and walked to the temples. And
Yep.
I like it. So, well,
great part of town, Kobe. I went to Kobe. It's kind of like Melbourne.
Kobe beef area. Is that what
it is? It is. So if you don't know Japan, so Tokyo is sort of up on the left-hand side. It's on Big Island. Down on the left-hand side, the west. Is that west? There's like a big bay, kind of like Melbourne, and Kyoto and Osaka.
Left is west.
Osaka sort of sits kind of in this bay. You just go around a little bit. Kobe's there.
Yep.
Go around a bit further. You go to.
Did you get to Nara?
Yes, just up
with all the deer and.
Yeah, so that's all down in the Kansai region. But so Kobe, I went and had a look, and there's not really much there. There's a giant statue of a robot.
Okay.
Which in a park.
Is it Asimo or just a?
They had a big earthquake.
Different robot.
I'm not sure. It's out of one of the many series they have.
Okay.
But then wandering around, there's like a little harbour there, and then stumbled across there's the Mosrite Cafe.
The Mosrite Cafe.
So Mosrite, the guitars.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's lived in Japan forever. So I think originally he was Italian, but he's always lived in Japan.
And
I think he might still be alive. And he's got a cafe there. It wasn't open when we were there just in the afternoon, but it's also a venue, and there's bands who play there. Like there's a Mosrite band who all play Mosrite guitars.
Wow.
And you look through, and there's just Mosrite guitars like just all along the walls. And
wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. I did not know that. I know Tim's Guitars in Brisbane, which is a great little shop.
Yeah, he makes copies.
And he's a big fan of that sort of stuff. So
when I go back, I'll go and check out the Mosrite. But yeah, it's his place.
Wow,
I mean,
I had no idea.
If he's still alive, I mean, I'm
He'd be old now.
He'd be very old, so I'm not sure. But yeah, just
an ancient warrior of guitar craftsmanship. So Matt, got to go soon, but I'll ask you before we go. I know time goes. For people just starting, is there any, and whether you're on keyboard or guitar, what do you recommend? Do you recommend, a bunch of songs, get your songs down? Do you recommend theory side of it, practice your scales and chords, or a little bit of both? Or
it's a hard one. Like, I learned the traditional way of the day, which was, classical piano lessons.
Learn to read.
Which I didn't enjoy, but years later it came indispensable because I kind of had a basis on the piano, and whereas I couldn't do it on guitar. But one thing that I've heard people say, piano players, like that when they were young, or I even do it now, it's like just trying to play games. So I'll just sort of work out, just like games I can play to kind of like to make it fun. And so I do games where I, try and trick myself up, and can I keep doing this while I do something else? And
what example could you give me?
It'd be different for different people, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I'll try and keep like a little pattern in the left hand,
right,
and then see if I can play something with my right hand,
in a totally different time signature,
or something that I try and make the left hand stuff up,
right,
kind of things, or just things like that. Can I try and fit this over this, or just trying to get that kind of playful mentality going. I think a bit of theory is really handy. Like, I don't know about having to read music, but just knowing how chords are put together, or
so a bit of harmony,
what a shape is, that kind of stuff.
There's so much good stuff online now. Although I think to get a fully rounded picture, it's hard to get it online. But
for me, the turning point was like getting to a point, and this could be just learning a song or something simple on piano. It could just be, you're just playing the root note in your left hand, or octave, but just root note, to Elton John style or Billy Joel style, and chord in your right hand. And just to a point where you can just kind of bash along a song, so instead of you start to have fun with it, and start to
get the limbs working.
So it feels like that. It's like on a guitar, where you get to a point where you've got chords and strumming, so you're confident enough that you can really be kind of bashing out even the strumming chords, but it sort of goes into another. It seems to kind of come alive, as opposed to just gingerly you feel like you're kind of jamming it out or something. And so reaching that point on piano with just simple chord in the right and bass note in the left, but being able to kind of jam away enough that you feel like it's get
Is
that
there
kind
anything
of forward momentum? So
anything you advise people to listen to as a piano player? That Keith Jarrett's great, but if you're starting out,
like for rock and roll. I'd say the one Nicky Hopkins. Nicky Hopkins. He's he did everyone but the Beatles in the day.
Wow.
And that's because they thought he was. So he did lots of Rolling Stones. I think he did all like the Who and the Kinks,
right?
All that stuff. And he's really kind of a busy player. But if you listen to him, he's thinking, how can you be so busy? Whenever I play on a recording, it's always like, too many notes. But the way he plays a lot, but he never gets in the way of the vocals or anything that's going on. So all that 60s stuff.
Was he a session guy?
I think mainly, So he did all that. He was the guy who did all that stuff. Really beautiful, light kind of player.
Okay.
So like on the early, like if it's on the Kinks or the Who, then it's most 99%.
Probably did some
Nicky
session
Hopkins.
work with Jimmy Page. Played a bit of the Who tracks and Kinks and whatnot. What are you listening to now?
At the moment, for piano, I'm listening to a guy called Merrill E. Moore.
Merrill E. Moore.
Merrill E. Moore. You can find him on Spotify. It's great. It's kind of like the beginning of rockabilly piano.
Okay.
So apparently he was a big influence on like Jerry Lee Lewis
right.
and rockabilly itself. A lot of people, when I play it to them, they go, it's like Western swing, like old American.
Yeah.
But it's not swung, it's generally straight beat.
Okay.
Sort of like honky tonk or boogie woogie, but not with a triple feel, but with a straight feel. And
it's like 40s,
awesome.
50s?
50s, I guess, but it's really, he's great. He's and I love my math rock.
Math rock?
Yeah. So it's, I guess it's a genre, but it's very how do you describe it? It's like the music that like if robots, when we have robots amongst us, it's the kind of music that they'll be playing. The bad robots, the robots who sit at the back of the bus, they'll all be playing math rock. So
so this is real people playing though.
Yeah, so it's quite
math rock genre. I haven't heard of this before. This is
technical, but I mean it's not like solos. But there's a band called Chon, is the latest one I'm listening to.
Chon,
Chon,
math rock.
They're Californian. So it's it sort of sounds like when you see a clip of like a bit of machinery, it's all these cogs and gears and things moving and all working together. It's like that's what it. That looks like what it sounds like. It's quite repetitive. Battles is probably the most well-known one. The drummer from Helmet, it's a band he's had for a while. Yeah. But so a lot of it's kind of like patterns. It's like a rock band. It looks sort of pattern-based and usually without vocals. And
seems to be a bit.
Chon are like Holdsworth meets.
Right.
They're kind of like Chon. They're like if there's a bunch of kids who wanted to start a pop band, but the only music they had to listen to was Holdsworth, so they made like a pop version.
Version of Holdsworth. Proper structured.
That's all.
ABC parts. Wow. Okay. I have to tell you the story of how I met Holdsworth, a bass player.
Well, which one?
But the very first. He lives in Melbourne. His name's Michael Skelly. He watches sometimes. So.
Okay. I saw him play with Jesse.
What's that? Was that in the mid-90s when he came out? I saw that.
Anyway, sorry.
Chad Wackerman on drums.
Okay.
I saw him in Brisbane. You probably saw the Melbourne one. No, this is going back late 60s. It's the very first record he ever had out. It's called Idgen Bottom's Wrench. Yeah. I'll show it to you later. I have a signed CD. But I met him in Melbourne. I'll tell you that story at some point. Now, Matt, we'll see you Brisbane Festival playing. It's
playing
possibly
the songs of Far Out Corporation.
Grant McLennan.
And maybe some songs of, I can't remember the name of the band, which is terrible, but Steve Kilby and Grant had a band together as well, so maybe some songs from that repertoire as well.
Fantastic. And when
Brisbane Festival,
have you got a date?
September the 20th?
September 20th, somewhere in there?
Very close to,
Okay. Heading into spring. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
It's been too long.
Let's do it again in another 20 years' time.
Yes. I'll come up to Brisbane. I've got to get up to Brisbane at some point.
I'll come visit me in Japan.
Yes, definitely. I think the chance of me visiting Japan will be stronger than Brisbane. So, we're trying to get over to Kyoto again. But, ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Murphy, yay!
Thank you very much.
This will be on repeat on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, Channel 10. No, I just made that. ABC, wherever. We'll be around. Thanks, guys. See you soon.